Yana Kim is a superstar. Yana Kim is not a singer. She is not an actress. She is an athlete. She is the first Korean woman to win a gold medal in figure skating.
When you're the first, that's where you make the biggest impact. She is that ambassador. Everybody wants to be like her. Everybody wants to see her. You know, she's the most popular person in the country, you know, and then the president is next.
She is arguably the best figure skater of all time, and she is insanely famous. Today, the ice rinks of South Korea are filled with young aspirations to be the best in the world. But it wasn't always this way. When Yana began skating a little more than a decade ago, there were few places to practice, and the sport of figure skating was barely recognized. Yana Kim's success paved the way for Korea's love of figure skating and is a shining example of the value South Korea places on its athletes. Yana began skating when she was 7 years old. When Yana's mother, Mi-hee, first enrolled her daughter in skating classes, she had no idea they were about to embark on a journey that would lead to the very pinnacle of the sport.
My mother was an avid fan of figure skating, but I don't think she had any aspirations of me becoming an athlete. I just enjoyed it until one day a coach told my mother, "Your daughter has potential. If she dedicated herself and trained full-time, she could possibly become a world-class figure skater."
At the age of 11, Yana first showed signs of greatness at the Korean National Championships. She performed beautifully in front of an empty arena. South Korea was not yet ready for Yana Kim. For the next few years, she spent her summers in the United States and Canada to hone her skills in better facilities with more experienced coaches. She competed at the world junior level with a series of impressive performances. At the 2006 World Junior Figure Skating Championships, she upset the defending champion Japanese sensation Mao Asada and took home the gold medal. But her success had a heavy price. Life was far from fun and games for the young prodigy. Competing at such an elite level at such a young age began to take its toll both physically and mentally.
I wanted to quit many times. I actually quit once. I went through hardships due to my injuries. And every time I was about to quit, I guess I was lucky. Things always worked out in a positive way. So I began to think figure skating was my destiny. And ever since, no matter how hard the situation was, I thought it was a temporary phase that would eventually vanish, and I could continue without quitting.
With renewed enthusiasm for figure skating, Yana returned to Canada for another summer.
Yuna came in '07 to work with David Wilson. David's the choreographer. And then the Korean Skating Federation had asked me to take a look at some of her jumps, and she wanted to keep her technical skills honed. So I said sure. I had no idea who this girl was. She was junior world champion, and I had just started teaching. And I looked at her, I marveled. I thought, wow, this girl's pretty good. So I helped her a little bit. She spoke no English, and I wasn't speaking any Korean, so we just relied on body language. And then the next thing you know, she asked if I would teach her for the rest of the summer. I said, sure.
Brian Orser won silver medals in the 1984 and the 1988 Olympics. He was the national champion of Canada 8 times and was world champion in 1987. With the talent and experience of Brian Orser behind her, Yana embarked on a quest to realize her dream of being the best in the world. This was no easy commitment. Training with Brian would mean spending 10 months of the year away from her home in Seoul, giving up any remaining semblance of a normal life for a 16-year-old girl.
반복이 되다 보니까
It was a hard decision to leave Seoul. All my friends are there, but I had set a goal for myself that in order to succeed, I had to be dedicated to my skating.
The childhood that Yuna had was unlike anybody else. I mean, it was just skating and skating and skating and skating. When I first started working with her, she wasn't very happy when she was skating. She had absolutely no expression. Training is training and it's work and all those things, but it doesn't have to be only that. The process can be enjoyable. I loved training. I loved skating well. I loved the freedom of skating. So that was our goal with her, was to get her to feel that. And we started to get her to smile, and we started to get her to laugh. And once she got a taste of it, then she just flourished. She's a wonderful young lady, and she has a great sense of humor, great spirit. There's a lot in this girl that's just incredible. It was so important that she needed to share that with everybody.
In 2007, Yana won the first of 3 consecutive Grand Prix final titles. Her victory at the 2006 Junior Worlds not only put her in the sights of the world figure skating community, it was also the beginning of a beautiful rivalry. In 2008, Mao Asada of Japan won the World Championships, with Yana coming in third. The media latched on to this rivalry, rather conveniently comparing it to another famous rivalry of 18 years ago between Brian Boitano and her coach Brian Orser.
Mao and Yuna are friendly. They're kind of like Brian and I. And that was another thing I could share with Yuna as well, is that I know what it's like to have that rival. You're always sort of checking up on what they're doing, but that rivalry makes you a better skater. I became better because of Brian Boitano. Yuna Kim became much better because of Mao Asada.
Mao Asada is a great competitor and skater. She really pushed me to become a better athlete. There were days when I would feel a little bit lazy, and then I would say to myself, I wonder what Mao is doing right now. Is she being lazy? And that was enough to make me work harder.
On March 28, 2009, at the World Figure Skating Championships in Los Angeles, California, Yana exploded onto the world scene. In one of her finest performances, she won her first World Championship title and set a new world record in the process. Mao Asada, her rival, and the defending champion settled for 4th place.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are your medalists.
Yana Kim became a household name. Virtually overnight, Koreans from all ages took up the sport and followed her every move on television. With all this attention and the Olympics just around the corner, the expectations grew. Anything less than a gold medal would be considered disappointing. Her success had put the weight of a nation upon her shoulders.
Before the Olympics, and she was having a really bad few days, and she was frustrated, and she was crying, and pressure was starting to mount. I stood with her and I said, there's nobody else in this building that really understands what you're going through but me. I pointed to the window where her mom and her trainer and her agent and all these people were all lined up. I said, they don't understand. So I could just see her relax and her shoulders came down. You know, as an athlete, just knowing you're in the same boat with somebody else, that it makes it a little bit palatable. And you can manage it, and you can share it, and you can lean on the other person.
Our next skater, representing the Republic of Korea, Yana Kim.
I've always had the same few things that I say. I look at her in the eyes and I say, you're ready. You're ready, and you know what to do.
꽃들부터 좀 쌓아 올렸으면 좋겠어요.
When Brian told me you're ready, well, to some it might seem like an insignificant statement, but not to me. He really gives me confidence, and that makes me believe in myself.
Great athletes give their finest performances when it matters most.
She was just totally engaged in this Olympic moment and embraced it and just rose to the occasion. I mean, everything was perfect. You know, her dress matched the boards. You know, we didn't plan that, but it happened. It was fantastic.
Yana's performance was flawless.
18년
When I finished the program, I just started crying. I couldn't help it,
그 선수들한테
but they were tears of joy. All those years of training had come down to these last 4 minutes. It was then I realized that I had lived my dream.
Gold medalist and Olympic champion representing Republic of Korea, Yana Kim.
Yana received a hero's welcome upon returning home after the Olympics, a far cry from competing in an empty stadium. Her success and her remarkable poise under incredible pressure has set a shining example for young skaters in Korea.
Kids used to play soccer or baseball, even some golf, but you could hardly find, little girl skates on the ice rink. But these days it's packed house. Maybe, 10, 15 years later, Korea can become not only just one Yana, but there will be a lot of Kim Yana.